Get Cheltenham ready with Paddy Power's new and exclusive Cash Card Plus. Get instant access to your winnings straight from the ATM. You can get your money in less time than it takes for another horse to pull out of the festival. Paddy Power, you beauty.
Hello, one and all, and welcome to the Racing Post Postcast for the first day of the Cheltenham Festival. So near now you could almost touch it. And joining me, Lee Mott said, we have esteemed Racing Post colleagues Alistair Down and David Jennings. And Cheltenham today, absolutely gorgeous on this eve of Festival Monday. Sun is shining, weather warm, no need for a jumper. If it stays like this, we'll all be happy. And if Mellon wins the opening Sky Bet Supreme Novices Hurdle, many people will be happy.
In this weather.
You really could, couldn't you? It is absolutely beautiful. Alistair, Mellon goes into this race trying to become the first horse since flown a quarter of a century ago to win the Supreme off the back of one run over hurdles. His price largely reflects stable confidence behind him. Do you believe the words we're hearing from the Mullins camp?
I certainly believe they think he has the ability, and they tell me he now drives his own horse box to Turles and places for race course schools. He's been to so many of them. I wouldn't be put off his lack of experience. If Willie Mullins is happy to bring him here off one run, then the likes of you who got fancy prices. So let's just get that out in the open first. 20s, was it?
Yeah, I should say that my fancy 20s is entirely due to our wonderful editor who on Twitter in the autumn...
Need to crawl and be smug.
No, listen, I can do both. In the autumn, he tweeted that Mellon was the Mullins horse for the Supreme Novices.
Well, he's right, isn't he?
Yeah, he was right. And DJ, that point that Alistair made about we shouldn't get too maybe obsessed with the fact that he's got one run against his name, because he has had, hasn't he, a few schooling outings.
He has indeed, yeah. As I say with Mellon, it's a guessing game. It's a complete guess. We have to guess how good he is. Ruby's guess and Willie's guess are a little more educated than ours, and they think he's good enough. And as Alistair said, this horse, I was on a preview night with David Casey, and he said he's sick to the teeth of going around hurdles. He's jumped so many hurdles. So it just goes to show you, like, everybody's, his lack of experience. Now, it's not the same as a Supreme Novice Hurdle, but it's still a more of a positive than just seeing a one next to his name. He's obviously, they think he jumps really, really well, and he jumps well at speed. He could win. Would I back him at the price? No. Would I be shocked if he won? Certainly not.
So what would you be backing then?
I actually think the second string from the stable has got a big chance. Bunk Off Early. I thought he ran really well in the Deloitte. That was over 2 mile 2, and he just got his stamina stretched a little bit. He travelled like a dream through that. He was keen. He's an absolutely brilliant jumper. If there's a better jumper in the Supreme Novice Hurdle than Bunk Off Early, I would be shocked. Whether he's good enough, I'm not quite sure, but he's got the form in the book. Even his maiden hurdle win, he beat Outspoken. Outspoken was rated 135, was second at Naas on Sunday. It's quite good form in a Supreme Novice Hurdle of this context. One of the bigger prices that I think will run really well is High Bridge from the Bren Pauling stable. Now, Alex Ferguson can't claim in this race, which is obviously not good, but he knows the horse inside out. He's unbeaten over hurdles. He was only beaten 4 1/4 lengths in last year's bumper by Ballyandy, and he looked a winner, I thought, turning in. I think he's got a hell of a chance, and he's probably the one that's overpriced.
Yeah, I'd like Highbridge as well each way. Alistair, your fellow duffel coat wearer, Nigel Twiston-Davis.
I'm beginning to regret ever putting that wretched garment
You
on.
look gorgeous in it. And Ballyandy,
even to my untutored eye, was the pick of all the horses on looks that morning.
Really?
Last week. He looked in tremendous order. I like the battle-hardened scrap of having won the Betfair. I'm not going to have a bet in the race because I'm Mellon, Ballyandy. The 4 we mentioned have all got major chances.
Yes.
But I'd love to see Ballyandy win.
OK, so Ballyandy with the heart for Alistair there in the Supreme, but this is a no-bet race. I suspect that for many people, the next one will be a no-bet race, the Racing Post Arkle Trophy. Remarkable, really, I think, in many ways, Alistair, that in a relatively short space of time, we've had Sprinter Sacre, Douvan, and now Altior in this division. The quality of horses that you might expect to see once in 10, 20 years, rat-a-tat-tat. How good, in your opinion, is Altior?
Well, I read a comment in the paper, I think this morning, that he could already be at the highest class, not just the highest novice class. Watching him is going to be fantastic. The tactics of the race, how people try and get him beat, is going to be interesting.
And how do they do that? How will they try to do that?
I mean, I think some of them have to just throw themselves into the melee and try and take him on. But that looks like a sort of self-sacrificing. And the race could fall apart late and stuff that's been held up could come whizzing through and try and get those places, or try and put a glove on Altior. You can't see it, it's 4-1 on chance. And you talk about the fecundity of this section, if you like, over the last few years. I mean, I remember the days when things like Badsworth Boy win it 3 years in a trot by 25 lengths, and it was magnificent, but it wasn't a spectacle.
No, and of course this time next year we'll hopefully be seeing Douvan versus Altior in the race that Badsworth Boy won 3 times. David, can you see anything or any reason why Altior won't be delivering on Tuesday?
Oh God, absolutely not. No, I actually think I've been our sponsors, Paddy Power, have put up some decent specials in this race, and there's one in particular that I like. It might sound weird, but Altior to win this race by 15 lengths or more is 6-1, and I think that's a wrong price. Tidal Bay won the race by 13 lengths. If Tidal Bay can win an Arkle that had 14 runners by 13 lengths, Altior can win an Arkle by 15 lengths or more, I think. And the thing about it is, as Alistair said, in the race you've got Royal Caviar, Sunplan, 3 Stars. You've got horses that are just going to go out and they only know one way of running, and it's going to go a real pace. When you have big distances strung out at the end of races, when there's a proper end-to-end gallop, and I think there will be in this race. I think, look, he's the type of horse that does win by wide margins because he has a turn of foot. Like, he was maybe 2 lengths ahead of Minute the last year and he won by 7. It was the same at Newbury. He was going away at the line. And as well as that, Nico de Boinville is riding him, and he's not a jockey that's going to be easing up, I think, personally. He's not it's Cheltenham. They want to win the races. They don't care by how far he wins or if he is an easy race or not. I think he could win by a wide margin, and I'd also advise back in the Arkle to be the widest winning margin race of the festival. It's about 8-1, which is a huge price to me. There's 2 bets I think are interesting. As regards to betting without market,
it's half a length in it at the end. You've done your brains on 2 fronts. You just pick one of them, David. You'd be right about one thing.
Yeah, I think to win by 15 lengths or more at 6-1 is too big of a price. As Alistair said, they're going to go some pace here, and the 2 that are going to be held up that might be able to sneak a place or might finish second are a Hairbreadth, who for Ben Pauling, who has course form. I thought he ran really well in the Great Wood here earlier on in the year. And the other one, who might just be a flat track horse, but he's a good horse, is Forest Behan of Brian Ellison's. They'd be the 2 I'd like without.
Okay, and I should mention at this point that new customers to Paddy Power who visit the free bet section of racingpost.com can get Altior for 6-1. That's 6-1, listeners. Terms and conditions will apply. We move on to the first handicap of the festival, the Ultima Handicap Chase. An absolute humdinger is this one. 24 runners, maximum field, obviously, including some previous winners of the race, one of which I fancy, and I know, David, you fancy the same horse. Explain, sir.
Yeah, great minds, Lee. Great minds thinking
let's
alike.
not get carried away.
Seldom differ.
I hope it is great minds on this occasion. I can't get away from the Druid's nephew. He won the race 2 years ago very impressively under Barry Geraghty off a mark of 146, and 2 years on he's rated 146 again. This time last year he was rated 155. I think Neil Mulholland is very shrewd, but more importantly he is very, very patient, and I think this has been the plan all year long. We've seen him once basically this season and he ran okay. It was in the fog at Ascot. He didn't do anything out of the ordinary, but he goes well fresh. He loves the track. You know he can win off this racing. The ground is perfect. Noel Feely was booked quite a while ago. He's one of the early bookings for this race. I just think the Druid's nephew ticks so many boxes.
I agree with all the comments that Mr. Jennings has just made. What does Mr. Down think?
Well, this is the whole trio of idiots.
Hey.
There's been such a good message for the horse in the last week as well. Horses coming back to do what they've done before at Cheltenham is always a very attractive proposition.
You're writing every year.
Absolutely.
How many festivals is this, Alistair?
This is 42. This
42.
is 42. But Druid's nephew also. I'm not concerned about what it's done this season. This will have been the day, and there's a good message. Everything seems right. Neil's horses are in form. One of the many flies in the ointment, because I think he's waiting to win a big handicap, is Henry Parry Morgan. But he has been disappointing. But this better ground might see him in a different light.
Okay, his jumping is sort of fallen a bit.
I mean,
to
I
pieces.
imagine the Druid's nephew price is going to collapse, isn't it?
I can't believe it hasn't collapsed already, yeah.
Well, bear in mind what listeners have just heard. I mean, They'll
have to get on before it's sent out.
They'll
to
be
a great
flocking
nation.
to the bookies.
The one thing I will say, and I've been at preview nights, I've been talking to people about I feel like I've spoke about nothing else other than Cheltenham since January. And the one horse I've got the most tips for from different sources, I played a football match on Sunday morning, and there was a fella sitting beside me in the dressing room. He goes, I got a tip for a horse. And I said, I bet you I know what it is.
Yeah.
And it was the same horse that I've got 20 times. It was Single Farm Payment. There is more people getting tips for that horse than there will be in Cheltenham today.
Well, Alistair practically lives next door to the horse, don't you, really? As a local consultant?
Not far away. Several good judges have put it up, but it's become a street corner tip, isn't it? Every dog in the Cotswolds barking.
OK, well, David's been doing tons of Cheltenham Festival preview nights. He'll be off on the Craven Meeting preview circuit soon. But before that, a commercial break.
Let Paddy Power help you get Cheltenham ready with their new and exclusive Cash Card Plus. Get instant access to your winnings at ATMs, online or even in your local supermarket. 18 plus, gambleaware.co.uk, T&Cs apply.
Welcome back to this Racing Post Postcast, looking at day one of the Cheltenham Festival, when the big race is the Stan James Champion Hurdle. Who would have thought for this Champion Hurdle that Ruby Walsh would be riding footpad, no Annie Power, no Faheen. The market headed by a horse who was going to go down the long distance hurdle route from a horse who started off down the novice chase route. Alistair, an obvious Champion Hurdle, this is not.
No, which is what makes it fascinating. A genuinely open race without an overpowering superstar. You can put cases up for all sorts. If forced to have a bet, I go with Bouvet Dare. It's not there in the book yet, but I think the way that Nicky Henderson, if you like, regrouped this horse, terrible expression, and came back to hurdles. I really liked the horse last year as a novice, and it was the novice I took out of last season and thinking that could be really exceptional.
Why was that, Alistair? What did you see in him?
I like his attitude. I liked the fact he's slick, and I like the fact he stays as well as has a bit of foot. He's got the equipment to be a champion hurdler. Whether he's got it at the level, we'll find out tomorrow.
So, David, Alistair goes for one of the two JP Hot Pots. You quite like the other one, don't you?
Oh, I do, yeah. I'm a Yanworth fan. He's not flashy. He's not flashy at all. In fact, he's quite a hard watch during his races. But he gets down and dirty, and I think this could be a triumph hurdle for getting down and dirty. I really do. Petit Mouchoir is in here. The new one is in here. Petit Mouchoir has farmed the Grade Ones.
Cannot have a champion hurdle winner called Little Hanky. I'm sorry, it's just not right.
But if you have a supreme winner called Melon, then surely
I suppose so. Yeah, you need something to wipe yourself up.
Yeah.
Oh, that's Petit Mouchoir's Little Hanky, is it? All right, okay. I was like Yanworth. Is that French for Little Hanky? No, Petit Mouchoir. Okay, yeah, I have it now. I just think Petit Mouchoir, he's farmed the race in Ireland by going a pace, taking horse out of their comfort zone, going too quick but sustaining it. I just think he could boil over tomorrow. I think he could go too fast, and I think he's going to set it up. Like, Sam is surely going to be on his tail on the new one. We know the new one stays. I think it's not going to be like an Annie Power or a Faheen Champion Hurdle. It's not going to be. They're going to go a proper pace, I think, from start to finish. And Yanworth, the jumping is the key. I think if he does negotiate the first 2 or 3 cleanly, he's not going to be making ground on his rivals in the air, but if he does jump them cleanly and Mark Walsh can get him into a rhythm, I just think that hill is made for him. I think the race is set up for him. He's only been beaten once over hurdles, and I actually took him out of the Neptune last year thinking that must be a good horse to get so close to York Hill with all the wet wrong during the race. Barry Garrity said the worst place you can get pushed wide is on that top bend.
Yeah.
He said he hated being there, but he had to be there at the time, he said. And it was the one ride of last year's festival he wishes he could have back. And obviously Mark gets the ride this year. I don't think he's going to go as wide. I think if he's within 2 lengths turning for home, he'll win.
Is there any chance for us romantics that the new one could finally avenge his champion hurdle hoodoo?
It would be one of the 2 potential mega stories of the meeting if it did. Can I see it? Had an awful lot of stabs and yet to strike home, I'm sorry.
And I'm like you, Alice. I love Bouvet Dare. So royal each way. I thought it was quite interesting. Either you two, Alice is making a sort of grunting face.
Put plenty up amongst the long shots, but you know.
David Jennings is looking at me in a way that suggests he thinks I'm completely gaga, which is almost certainly true. A man who is not gaga is Mr. Frank Hickey, who now gives us his view on the Cheltenham Festival market news for day one. Frank, of course, from Paddy Power.
So in the champion hurdle, Brain Power is the one for cash since final decks have come through. We've bowled over with money, probably due to the forecast good ground and the lack of rain in the forecast. As for tomorrow, we'd be hoping to get Mellon beating the Supreme. He's our worst result of the whole festival, and it would be a good start for bookmakers if we can get him beaten. In the Arkle, it's just sit back and enjoy Altior. It looks his for the taking. In the Ultimate Handicap, Noble Endeavour and Single Farm Payment are the two we've been laying. Noble Endeavour looks a little bit high in the handicap, but Single Farm Payment definitely looks well handicapped. In the Mayor's race, it's a little bit up in the air with Limini and Vroom Vroom both being declared. Ruby's on Limini, so you'd imagine she'll be the one for cash tonight and tomorrow morning. In the 4-miler, it's relatively quiet so far cash-wise, and in the handicap, I've just learned that Value Risk is taken out, which is a big blow, as he was probably one of the worst results for us. But it's pretty open other than that.
Okay, the OLBG Mares Hurdle is the final Grade 1 on day one of the festival, and who would have thought we'd have Vroom Vroom Mag and Limini going up against Apple's Jade? Would you have thought that, David?
No, Annie Power got injured, Faheen got injured, Don Cossack got injured, Vaughter was found dead. Yet the biggest shock I have got in the last 6 months was hearing that Ruby Walsh is riding Limini in this race. I was flabbergasted.
Your guess was flabbered.
I was I thought it was a misprint when I read it first. I said, no, that'll change. Then I went back again. It's not changing. And then I went back again at lunchtime and I said, this hasn't changed. And then I found out he's definitely riding Limini. I can't believe it. I genuinely can't believe it.
Are you quite shocked then?
I'm reasonably shocked, yeah.
Are you really?
Yeah, I am, yeah.
Right. So do you think then he's on the wrong horse?
I do think he's on the wrong horse.
I got that impression.
It
told him.
It is
If you do, he might change his mind.
It's fascinating. I think there could be another twist in the tail. I don't know what the twist is, but I think there could be. It just makes no sense to me. I think Vroom Vroom, the way they talk about him, the way David Casey talks about Vroom Vroom and Limini, he says there's no comparison between the two. So how all of a sudden Limini can be better than Vroom Vroom Mag, I don't know. As regards what's the value in the race, I actually think Apple's Jade is the value in the race. I really do. Gordon Elliott talks down her chances all the time. He reckons she was beaten fair and square by Limini the last day. I can't have that at all. She wasn't fully fit the last day whatsoever. Cheltenham is her place. Spring ground, a bit of sun in the air. They're going to go a proper pace, and you just remember what she did last spring. What she did at Aintree last spring was phenomenal. I think.
But was it believable though? 41 lengths.
Because Punches 10 afterwards. She did something similar to Punches 10 afterwards.
Yeah, but on the book it wasn't nearly as good a performance.
Yeah, no, it wasn't, no. But I think they found the key to her. Gordon is only getting to know her, and I think she runs a lot better. When she comes back from a break, she has a run, and then second time out, it seems to be that's when to catch her. And I think she's going to improve an awful lot from her run at Punches 10. She's 5-1. That's a big price.
Okay, Alistair, a shocked David Jennings goes for Apple's Jade. You don't look shocked. You look very content with life.
The one I like is Jers Girl of Gavin Cromwell's. Here off a long break, but he's immensely capable trainer, and I liked her last year, and I think she could go on this year. I think she's decent value too.
Yeah. And that was part 2.
Let Paddy Power help you get Cheltenham ready with their new and exclusive Cash Card Plus. Get instant access to your winnings at ATMs, online, or even in your local supermarket. 18 plus, gambleware.co.uk, T&Cs apply.
Okay, welcome back to the final part of this Racing Postcast. Joining me, Lee Multised. We have Alistair Down and David Jennings. And Alistair, this year the National Hunt Chase run in the name of the late great John Thomas McNamara, and I'm sure no one would love to win this more than JP McManus, and he does have a chance.
Yes, indeed. I mean, I think this is a genuinely open 4-miler. The two I like, I suppose, are Beware the Bear of Nicky Henderson's, and I suppose Genie in a Bottle is the obvious selection. Are you a big fan of Genie in a Bottle?
I'm a fan. I wouldn't say I'm a big fan. I'd be surprised if he was good enough.
I think Jamie Coddon's a big help though, isn't it?
Huge help. Jamie Codd is as popular as Colin Farrell in the nightclub this week. Everybody wants Jamie Codd, and he's had to wait until the last minute to finalise his rides. Gordon, I think, begged him to ride Tiger Roll in this, but he wouldn't get off a Genie in the Bottle. Noel Meade says he's slow, which is obviously not a bad thing in general for the 4-miler, but I don't know if he has the class. I fancy Champers on ice. He was third in the Albert Bartlett last year.
You always fancy Champers on ice.
Yeah, I'm a big Champers fan. I think he has a touch of class. Like Probably two things that he doesn't have in his favour. He is slow as well, and he's not a great jumper. So it's obviously two negatives.
So he can't jump and he walks.
Yeah.
It's ideal for the 4 miler.
Ideal for the 4 miler. Odds on shot.
He was third in the Albert Bartlett last year. He followed a similar type of route as on Tom Sport 2 did in his novice chase season. He was very, very impressive at Uttoxeter in a Mickey Mouse beginner's chase, or novice chase as you call them over here. And I thought he ran well behind American at Wetherby. When you can't afford to do what he did at Wetherby, I thought American was on the front end, got the run of the race, and then he ran over 2.5 miles here in a handicap. That was ridiculous. Like, that's not the real Champers on Ice. He spooked Roger Quinlan, who I think is a positive. He's definitely in the top 5 riders in the race. And if he does get into Redham early, I'm hoping Champers on Ice will come home in front.
Certainly, you mentioned Tiger Roll. I can tell you Tiger Roll is flying, is in the form of his life, and first time since Triumph Hurdle Day.
Wouldn't it be odd if a Triumph Hurdle winner won the 4 miler?
Well, the Triumph Hurdle winners have won things at Irish Nationals, and they Comanche Court do the two.
Good call.
But yeah, it would be odd.
Yeah.
Of course it would.
But
yeah.
interesting.
But I've seen a part of Beachy won by something bred by Shadwell.
You never have.
I have.
Did you really?
Yeah, Zilzal was the star. I think.
Oh, my word.
Not what they were thinking of at the time.
No.
Next.
Not the first thing they were thinking of anyway. We wrap up with the novices handicap chase. My selection, Value at Risk, was taken out this morning, so that's me done. Alistair.
I always think Venetia Williams is lethal here. Zamdi Man I give a shout for. And Foxtail Hill for the local Twiston Davis Duffel Dunces. That's also going to run well.
Okay, David.
I have one here for you, Lee.
Oh,
I have one.
Go on.
Yes, number 13. Unlucky
Right.
for some,
But
but
not
not
for
for
you.
me. That was just a pure coincidence that he was number 13.
Was it? Yeah.
I actually
You
didn't even plan that. No, I didn't even plan it, no. Tully East, trained by Alan Fleming, owned by Barry Connell. They've had a tough year this year, the two of them. Like, they've invested big time and money in horses. But the knock-on effect of that is a lot of the horses are well handicapped, and this is one horse that's well handicapped. He's off a mark of 138. He ran a cracker in the Martin Pipe last year off 140. He was on front coming down to the last, and the last hurdle was omitted, and he had to veer around it. He definitely lost a length or two. I thought he ran really well. His beginner's chase victory in Thurles in the fog worked out well, because Batchison was beaten when fell at the last. He's since won. I think since then, this has been the plan. Let's get his mark with somewhere between 135 and 140, and he's managed to get it to 138. Alan is very optimistic of a big run. I think he did a good piece of work last week. So yeah, Tully East, I've backed him at 25 to 1.
25 to 1. It will be Champers a nice one if that one goes in.
It'd be a first.
With flapjacks. Alistair.
Alistair what?
What do you like in the last race, dear?
Well, I've just told you, Zamdi Man.
Oh, you
and
have,
Foxtail
haven't you?
Hill.
Sorry.
How's your early onset
We've
going?
been on air a long time, haven't we?
That's what it'll feel like to them.
Well, with that gorgeous ending then to this podcast, best bets. Who wants to go first?
Best bets tomorrow.
Well, I'll
the
just think-
Druid's nephew.
Right, one for the Druid's nephew. Has he just scuppered you?
I'd love to go for the Druid's nephew, but instead I'm going to go for Champers on Ice.
Champers on Ice for David. I'll go for Melon, but really we all wanted to go for the Druid's nephew. Isn't that exciting? Day one of the Cheltenham Festival is to come. Hope you have a fantastic, fantastic day.
Paddy Power has you covered this Cheltenham, with exclusive offers, daily enhanced prices, and all races live streamed. Stick with Paddy and saddle up for the ride of your life.